Are you ready?
Getting closer to the end zone, I can feel it in the air. It's 4th and inches, look, we almost there. 4th and inches, 4th and inches, it's 4th and inches. Yeah, we gotta get it. Success is on the horizon, my eyes on the end zone. So I take the rock and grip it tight, fly across the scrimmage. The clock down to 0, it's in my hands to win it. Squinting my eyes to the sky, dodge defenders and sprinting. Jump past the goal line, the saga ain't finished.
How you guys doing? Welcome to the newest addition to the Franchise Sports lineup, 4th and Inches. I'm Roy Shepard, and with me is Tyler Blunt and Spencer Henderson. Okay, let's kick this thing off with some Florida State football. And this spring, it's been all about increases, especially with the quarterback position. Increases in weight, increases in competition, and increase in velocity on his throws. And we're talking about Trickett, the backup quarterback. Even increased time in the film room watching all of his plays from a redshirt freshman season where he threw for 675 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. Building off of 2 starts and mop-up duty as a rookie behind starter E.J. Manuel coincides with Trickett's ongoing competition with redshirt freshman Jacob Croker for the backup quarterback job this spring. Will Seckert's decision to leave the program this offseason left just 3 scholarship quarterbacks on the spring roster before 2012 signees Sean McGuire and Jameis Winston arrive in Tallahassee this summer. And while FSU's head coach Jimbo Fisher shared this week that the competition may not be decided until the fall camp, Trickett said he's not just focused on the number 2 job, but also pushing for the starting one as well. Trickett is aided in this ambitious quest by his increased body size. After being diagnosed last year with celiac disease, a condition that prevents absorption of important nutrients by the intestines, Trickett has made a concerted effort to maintain a gluten-free diet while also working hard in the weight room. Trickett's increase to 185 pounds has helped him increase his velocity on his throws without losing any speed with his running.
Shifting across the tracks, the Rattlers were back in action last weekend in Brat Memorial Stadium as the Orange beat the Green in the 2012 spring game. Now, we saw the spring game was a real big spring game this year. The Florida A&M Rattlers started its spring game with sophomore quarterback Damian Fleming calling the shots. Fleming says although he saw good things on Saturday from his receivers, he wants his offense to be more consistent.
I feel like we still have a lot to work on. I mean, we had a couple drives, but like we went 3 and out. Like to win the game, we can't have too many of those. So overall, we just got to get better.
Fleming took over at quarterback in last year's Atlanta Classic game against Southern University after former starting quarterback Austin Traynor threw an interception in the 3rd quarter. Fleming carried the team to victory from a 16-point deficit late in the 3rd while completing over 70% of his passes. Fleming says he's focused on his leadership.
Trying to become a leader, lead my guys out there. You know, I say with the O-line, try to just keep those guys up, everybody, O-line, running backs, receivers, just trying to, whenever someone's down, just try to bring them up.
One of the things I was really concerned with, Curtis, was the running game. I saw a little bit of it, but I'm kind of thinking that they should, implement a little bit more of the option. What you think?
You know, actually, I think this power running game is going to pay off for the Rattlers later on this season because you have a stable of running backs. You have 5 running backs that we know of right now. Of course, McBurst is sitting out right now. I heard he was hurt today. And then you have, the running back from Wakulla coming up. So you have a very young, very hungry stable of running backs. And you have the 2 senior leaders, Eddie Rocker and Levante Page. So I'm pretty sure, they'll get it going. I don't really think they need to put the option there. Just go straight at teams, power running, and open up some things for your quarterback so that he can complete some passes as the games go on this season.
And speaking of opening up some passes, Damian Fleming definitely had a nice spot on the ball today. He definitely completed a lot of passes. He had the touchdown to Linworth. And I think that connection with Linworth is going to work this year. I mean, I want to see him more in the slot, but I think the outside routes will work this year. How you think about that?
Well, you know what? Linworth is a very explosive, receiver. We saw him step up in the game that saved us against Fort Valley State in the first game of the season last year. And you see that Linworth has that speed that, you need. And I really feel like Fleming is going to, kind of rely on him a lot this year. But we also saw some other wide receivers step up today. We saw, a young guy named Travis Harvey make some very nice catches and, add a little run after catch on some plays. So I think, Linworth is going to be an important cog for this offense this year.
And it's going to be very important to have Linworth and Harvey because, you know, that secondary from the other teams are going to be blitzing and sending pressure on Damon Fleming. But speaking of the secondary, we saw Terry Johnson today. And Johnson helped out his defense with a few tackles and an interception in the first half. It was time to put the mouthpiece in and get physical on this play. Now with Johnson emerging as one of the best cover corners in the MEAC, it allows defensive coordinator Earl Holmes to place man and send pressure.
It depends on what team we playing, what like scheme they throwing at us. So, you know what I'm saying, we're going off, you know, in the film room instead of the scheme, then we'll go from there.
Although Johnson is aware that he will be the one who defends the opponent's big-time receiver this year, he says he's ready for any type of challenge from any receiver.
It depends on who the receiver is. Like if it's a big receiver, you know, I like to get my hands on the jam up, but it's like a little, you know what I'm saying, little scat back. I play off.
Now, although Johnson is one of the best corners in the conference, on Saturday he told me that he feels like he's still improving. And he says he's aware of the expectations that are going to come from his outstanding performance his freshman year. Now with Fleming at the helm on offense and Johnson roaming in the secondary on defense, the Rattlers look to win the MEAC this year. And with help from senior linebacker Brandon Hepburn making monster hits like this one, they should be just fine.
I think the defense, we showed great intensity coming out, and we only got better with time. I believe that we still have some things that we need to shore up, you know, just pass responsibilities and intensity when it comes to our secondary, as well as up front. So we can, you know, do a lot better, but I think that we did great today. We have a lot to build on, so I believe that this was just a stepping stone towards our goal of a championship.
Thing about the defense actually is, you know, they played very strong today. You know, you saw a very quick defense. You know, they sat the quarterback, you know, well, the spring game tag sack, but they got to the quarterback a lot today and they batted down balls. And, you know, they played very well against some very solid running backs. So you're going to see a defense that's really grounded and, you know, really aggressive. And that's what, you know, I think is going to help FAMU this year in the MEAC and against those non-conference opponents, Tennessee State, Southern, Oklahoma. But I think that defense is going to be pretty solid and very aggressive and, you know, come out there and play ball every Saturday.
Well, we changed the format this year. We really went 1 versus 1, best on best. And I thought that would be beneficial, and I really think it did. You know, we got a lot of good reps, whereas, you know, we got 7 returnees on both sides as starters, but we're looking for 4 on each side. And I really thought the format was good. And that as we went along, the intensity got better. But I thought that for a while, you know, we didn't focus the way I like to see us focus. But in the end, you know, we kept playing, we kept putting them out there, and so that they decided to play.
So the leaders of the defense are stepping up, the leaders of the offense are stepping up. We for Franchise Sports are stepping up. For Curtis, this is Spencer Henderson. Y'all join us every Friday at 10 o'clock.
There is no time off for greatness, and for 3 local area high schools, this held true. The chase for excellence carried them throughout the regular season and into the playoffs last fall. First up, we have last year's city champs, the Lincoln Trojans. They finished 9-2 on last season with their first-round playoff exit. The Trojans seem primed going into the upcoming fall season to move further and regain their dominance they once had in 2010 with another state title. The key pieces leaving are quarterback and wide receiver tandem Ronald Butler and Rafael Andres on the offensive side, while on the other side, the only loss is defensive back Darrington Abnar. The biggest thing going for the Trojans heading into next season is majority of their team last year were underclassmen. They now have the experience from last year moving forward, so these Trojans are a team to truly watch next year. Next up, we have the Godby Cougars, who fell to the aforementioned Trojans for the title of city champs. But for the Cougars, they were able to move further with their season before losing in the second round of the playoffs. The Cougars' loss of players balances out in the grand scheme of things, with quarterback Dennis Andrews and linebacker tandem Kadeem Thomas and Jakari Thomas leaving. But for the Cougars, they returned one of the best running backs in the city in Khalid Thomas. Along with lockdown corners Deion Singleton and Lester Thomas, the Cougars will probably be one of the toughest teams come next fall with a stout defense and a run game to match. Like they always say, defense and the run game can take you places, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're making a trip to Orlando for the state title. Last but not least, we have the reigning 2A Florida State champs, the NFC Eagles. Last year, they boasted one of the city's most explosive offenses and defense that brought it each week for the Eagles. For the Eagles, the impact of losing last year's offensive captain, quarterback Matt Dobson, and defensive captain, cornerback Travis Blanks will be devastating, but the Eagles look to move past it. Returning is leading rusher Jonathan Vickers and speedy wideout Branton Lee. Along with them, the Eagles bring back a young but consistent offensive and defensive line. The Eagles, in my eyes, look to be at the same place as last year in the beginning, and with a little hard work, could possibly end the same way, hoisting up another 2A state title.
Well, guys, that's all the time that we have for this news segment, and hopefully you guys can continue to follow us as we continue to cover the local football prospects in the area, both high school and collegiately. Now back to Keyshawn and Curtis at the desk.